Welcome to Before, During, After, a Smirk Experience podcast about performance from the inside. Every week, I'll sit down with a professional comedian to unpack how they prepare for a gig, what they're thinking about while they're on stage, and how they reflect once it's over. Because great performances don't just happen, they're built. This week's guest is Alexis D, who is the comedian behind the character act Marcel Leconte, who I have to say in 15 years connected with comedy remains one of my favourite ever acts. We explore what speakers can learn from character comedy. We cover topics like how wearing a mask, whether that's a character act or a speaking persona, can help make you more confident. The difference between commanding and dominating a room, and how nobody is a natural born speaker. Plus, find out why Marcel always performs barefoot. Enjoy. Alexis, Marcel is arrogant, dismissive, and self-absorbed. Do you think some audiences see themselves in him?
Oh, that's a nice question. I think everyone does to some extent because I think Marcel started off as, well, he still is very much the Frenchman that the English love to hate,
Yep.
is how I would sort of describe him in a one sentence tagline. And so I think there's certain liberties that Marcel has that people wish they had more of just sort of, especially in Britain, I think completely speaking your mind, being dismissive to those that you find beneath you, and just sort of a certain level of arseholery that I think because it's fun playing the bad guy. It's fun, it's really fun. Nobody like in a theatre production, no one wants to play the hero, do they? It's way more fun being the bad guy.
Yep.
From Panto to Shakespeare,
Yep.
it's a much more fun role. And what I do is, yeah, like it came from a place of theatricality doing Marcel. So it's the enjoyment of being a dick.
Yeah, right. I sometimes think with comedy, it's like people go to sort of sometimes hear opinions that no one would say when they're at work or something like that, if you see what I
Yeah,
mean.
I think all comedy should have like a certain element of that anyway. It's sort of
Yeah,
saying, not saying, if not saying the unsayable, it's saying what the unspoken.
yeah, yeah. I think so too. Do you think confidence is easier when you're projecting it like behind a character?
Way easier. Yeah, of course
Yeah,
it is. I mean, you can argue that every comic does that to some
yeah,
extent. When you go
correct.
on stage, you are not being your raw, vulnerable self. Well, in some actually, no, in some cases, I think they are, but I think in a lot of cases, yeah, you are a projection of yourself, and you're being a character, and the character is the Joker on stage kind of thing.
Yeah,
But with Marcel, there's an extra element of that, and it's way easier to hide behind. Yeah, because I know my parameters as Marcel. I know exactly someone throws me something, and I don't have to have the filter of going, what if people don't like this opinion? I've already stamped my authority on the gig as a superior individual and that doesn't give a fuck. And so it's carte blanche, if you will, to go and continue being that. So yeah, it gives you the mask. The mask is an incredible thing. Like if I think all comedy performers should do at least one mask workshop. I did one with the brilliant John Wright years ago, and it was life changing. It was fantastic, and it's incredible how when you get something on your face, the physicality changes, and your thought process changes, and you lose a lot of inhibitions. It's incredible.
yeah, absolutely. See, we take people that speak for their jobs through workshops to make them speak better. And one of the things that I say to groups is when you speak to a group of people, you almost want to think of it like your telephone voice. if you see what I mean. Everyone's kind of got like, you might just be talking to your bloody, oh, hello, Sam Carrington, can I help you? It's almost like you're kind of putting a hat on to speak to someone on a phone who might be posher than the person that you're talking to when the phone goes. It's almost the same type of thing when you're speaking to a group to an extent, isn't
Yeah,
it?
we all do it. We all put on the hats and put on the masks and put on the voices and whatever we need to in society. I think comedians probably less than other people in life. I
Yeah,
think
right.
think
Yeah, yeah.
we drop those masks more readily than I think other people do. But and I think that's why it's why your mates are your mates because they're people that you can sort of drop all that bullshit with. Well, it's not bullshit. It's what makes society work. But it's yeah,
Yes.
that's when you can truly be with partners, friends, whoever it is. It's yeah to be able to drop that is lovely and rare.
It is just being your self. I sometimes drop into that a little bit too quickly with people that I don't know as well as I should when I'm
Yeah.
not on
Oh
stage.
yeah, I think most comics are guilty of this because
Yeah,
that's what we do and it's lovely and it feels great to us.
I had a vasectomy probably about 4 months ago, and the
Right.
last bit is having to wank into a jar and then drive it to a hospital within a specific time
Of
so the
course.
sperm doesn't die.
Wow.
And I shared a picture of the jar on a dad's group around here, and one or two of the. It was the empty jar. I would point
Oh
out to
right.
the
Oh
listeners,
oh sure, fine. That makes a
but
big difference.
well, yes, it does make it. Well, but even the empty jar had a few of them. Like, oh, we're not guilty of oversharing on this group, are we? And I was. It didn't even dawn on me.
Brilliant. We should have shown them the half, half full.
Yes, I should.
Are you a sperm jar half full or half
Yeah.
empty kind of guy? But you should have, yeah, you should have had a before and after shot. Anyway, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Right. But yeah, you're right. I think it's the kind of comics just don't have so many filters, do they,
well, no,
as
because
normal?
that's what we do. That's again, it's saying the unspoken. It's what we go and do on stage, and why it's such a release and a relief for people to sit and enjoy comedy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. No, you're absolutely right. Alexis, you mentioned authority a little bit earlier on in this, and that's something that I'm interested in as much as what are the things that you do as Marcel or as yourself? You can answer it however you wish, that would kind of stamp authority on a room within, say, the first 30 seconds of a performance.
I sort of usually employ the classic technique that a lot of comics, character comics or otherwise, employ, which is to mention something about the room. Like it's harder for me to play an opera house or a ballroom or a wonderfully lavish venue than it is to play a shithole. Marcel is a lot more fun to do in somewhere that you can rip the piss out of because whatever it might be, there's just some little detail. No room is ever good enough for Marcel, or that's how it should
No,
be.
no, no,
So if
no.
there's something that I can instantly comment on about the decor or whatever it is, it means that I'm not being personal to someone in the audience. I've never had that a venue is precious about a French bloke coming up and denigrating their decor.
Yeah, right.
Um, and so it immediately sets me off as a snooty, well, Frenchman, obviously, but it affirms all the beliefs that everyone has of a bloke in a roll neck and a suit sauntering onto the stage and speaking in a French accent.
Yeah,
So it's
right.
like, oh, okay, we get what you are, and yeah, there it is. Okay, so we are all beneath you. This is the sort of room that you would be in, but not. This is not my kind of room. I'll be out of here as soon as I'm done.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Absolutely right. I can remember you won't. remember this, but you were doubling up and you closed a Christmas show
Oh yeah,
that we did in Bromley.
yeah,
And
yeah.
for some reason, they had the most over the top, gigantic Christmas decorations in that year. They were as big as like half a person or something.
All right, lovely.
And exactly. And you started by saying, "Yeah, I'm doubling up. I've just come from a room with really tasteful, subtle Christmas decorations in here." And immediately, everyone gets it. Everyone's falling off their chairs.
Yeah, there's a gift that I get given sometimes where before I've even got to the mic, someone might want to shout to me, "Oh, bonjour," and it's lovely. If it's that specific word, it's lovely because I can instantly give them a withering look and go, "I think you can find it's bonsoir." So it's like someone's had a little go, and I've immediately gone, "Boom, no, you don't."
Yeah, yeah.
And it's such a lovely way to do it. I love it when that happens.
We did quite a lot of online shows during
We
the Great
certainly did.
Plague together.
Yeah,
You
we
were
did. Thank you for that. Yeah,
no, not at all,
kept me
buddy.
sane.
Thank you. Yeah, right. I know. While everyone was losing theirs, and we, I remember we had a brilliant one that we would do. I would do this like 30-second over the top spiel about
Oh yeah.
what a fantastic act you were and how close I feel that we've come to each other since we've been doing these. And we bring you on, and the first thing you'd say is, "I've never seen that man before in my life."
Absolutely. Yeah, there you go.
And
Bang.
immediately,
Such an asshole.
wonderful. No, exactly. It was
It's so much fun to be
yeah,
an
yeah,
asshole.
yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. This is quite a deep question, but have you ever considered the difference between commanding and dominating a room?
Yeah, all the time actually. It's yeah, it's a very subtle line. It's it's a tightrope to walk along. You sort of have to. I go in with the belief that everybody is part of the game that I'm about to play. Whereas I'm giving them the archetypal Frenchman. Um, I am going to be a dickhead to you. I'm going to look down on you and I'm going to rip the piss out of your culture and your ways and you personally, probably in the room at some point. Uh, and we are going to enjoy this game of cultural one man tennis.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Squash.
Yeah, yeah, got it.
And it's that's not always the case. I think there's always going to be a handful of people who don't get it and who are not involved in the game or don't see the veil, that I'm putting down over their eyes. And I think when I very quickly get a sense when more than 50% of the room are not buying it. And that doesn't happen often. And people always think Marcel's very bulletproof. But all it takes is one or two big groups who are just not sort of strapped in for the ride, or every now and again, a whole room full of people who just, after the first three or four gags, have given me nothing and are looking at me. I had a dream about this last night, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. It was really odd. Um, Oh, it was just a really weird gig. The dream, if you allow my ADHD to lead me. It was a really odd gig. It was a showcase gig for something. I was having to prove myself to some people in suits, and it was like the mic wasn't working properly. None of the jokes were landing. I wasn't remembering any of the jokes. I'd do like 75% of what the jokes were, but it just
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
cut it.
Yeah.
And then they just started leaving midway through the set, but I just had to carry on. Anyway, that is not unique to me, I'm sure.
No, I've had a very similar dream where I start bits but then forget the punchlines
Yeah,
to
and it just
them.
tapers off
Oh, yeah, yeah.
into
And you just start
nothingness.
the next one and it does it again. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's a
yeah,
real
yeah.
fear because we were all just a couple of words off that. every
Yeah,
every routine.
exactly. Exactly that.
A little mental brain fart away from that
E-
every routine we do.
exactly. Are you ever tempted to break character and just be like, this is just a fucking act, everybody?
Well, well done. That brings me right back on track. So well done. There was a gig that I did. He won't mind me sharing his name here, but Ben Vandervelde, bless him, lovely bloke. He took on the mantle of running some gigs for bingo halls around the country that was supposed to be this big new comedic initiative, and like just when the bingo halls weren't being used, we get a load of comedians in and it would be amazing. The one that I did was far from amazing, and the fact that they wrapped this up, I think maybe weeks after this gig that I did. I think I did one of the first ones.
Oh
Shows
yeah.
how well it went nationwide. But it was in Tooting, and massive bingo hall. I mean, enormous bingo hall in Tooting. Like could have seated thousands in there, and probably did when the bingo was on, when the comedy was on. I'm gonna say 14 people in,
Oh fuck.
like all sat at the front. One of them on their phone, uh, Ben being his affable self and just trying to get people into it, like, yeah, hey, right, mate, what do you do? Not a lot. And it was that, and he was just getting that as a compare, and it was unbearable. And I was on first. I had to dash away to another gig, so at least I had another one lined up that night.
All right.
But I did the opening 20, and there was who else was on? Javier Harkin. Oh, and someone else at the back. Who was it? I can't remember anyway. And Ben himself. And you could, for 20 minutes, you could hear a pin drop of like just nothing, of people just
Oh,
staring at me, going, "What is this?" Like, just didn't have any.
oh God.
I did like it was almost spiritual. It was. It was almost like a sort of ascendant moment of just like I don't know, comedy and purgatory. It was absolutely bizarre, and I sort of and I've never thought of dropping out of character. People have always said to me, like, because people like Omid Jalili, didn't he? Omid used to do his kind of open up as the character, and then sort of and then go, oh no, this is my accent really. We do like 1-2 minutes of kind of an entirely different
Yeah,
accent and
yeah,
go, oh
yeah.
no, this is me. And people, oh, you should try doing that. And it's like, no, 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 it's not. No, that doesn't. It worked for Omid in a brilliant way, and for other people that have done that. But this, you have to be in. I think you want to be in the game. You want to be in the zone of it of this character.
Yeah,
It just
right.
for me, it felt a bit too clever as well. Just like ha ha ha, fooled you. And it's like, but because then I think it would be a letdown. I think
Yeah.
I think it would be, oh no, but we wanted and as I found when I used to in the early days of doing myself, when I'd walk off the stage and pub gig or whatever, and somebody would go, oh, really enjoyed that, and I'd snap out of character, go, oh, cheers, and they go, oh, and they just look really disappointed about
Oh
it.
no. It would
Yeah,
be like bumping
we want
into
to.
Father Christmas with his beard off
Yes,
or something like
exactly.
that.
Yeah, Mickey
Right.
Mouse. Mickey Mouse just casually removes his head. Um,
Yeah.
so anyway, yeah. So in that moment, so not in that moment, sadly, but afterwards, because I was so locked into the weirdness of it and just going through, I just went through the motions and just sort
Mm.
of, I didn't mention the weirdness too much because obviously we all know, or I could just hear the titters of the other comics in the back of the room at bits that usually kill. That
Yeah.
just I'm throwing everything at this gig, and they are and the
Oh
silence,
man.
instead of like a massive laugh or round of applause, all I heard was them tittering and going, "Oh Jesus." Um, and I wish there had been a moment. Whether it would have changed the gig, I will never know. But I wish I had just like stepped off the stage and gone, right, guys, this is a little French character I'm doing. It's fine. It's comedy. I've dropped a few punchlines here. Sit back and enjoy the rest if you want. But it's no, it's up to, and then straight back into it. Or whatever, or have just said something, just stepped out for a brief moment, or fuck it, or even just started doing some bingo, just doing some bingo calling, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
right. Yeah.
I stepped into my role a little too much, and just I think instead of I was sort of I think I would drop a big punchline, wait, and let the awkwardness of the silence just fill the room, and then just go, okay, next bit.
Yeah.
And just carry on with it, and just to sort of savor the awkwardness. Because I sort of over the years, I've loved the silences of the act. I've really enjoyed the silence because it kind of almost dares people to come and puncture that silence in the room.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I love
yeah.
dealing with that if somebody does. It's very, very rare that somebody does, but this gig was all silence.
How would someone puncture the silence on in different gigs?
Oh well, with a heckle, with a something they think's clever or funny, and So I suppose I'm trying to think what. Going back to the question, I'm trying to think what I did in that room. Was I dominating? No, I suppose. No, I suppose I was commanding rather than dominating because were I to be dominating, I would have been putting them down for not getting it, I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah,
Whereas commanding, I think, is just silently going through it. Punchline, silence. This gap is for you to fill in. Oh, you haven't. Moving on.
yeah, got it. So you were just like a kind of captain going down with his ship instead of jumping
Yeah,
onto a lifeboat.
that's it. It was Napoleonic.
Just you you could almost see Marcel's defiant face as the water
Yes,
just rises up.
lovely. There it is. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. When you, I know you don't necessarily train people, but you would watch kind of civilians trying to speak to groups or to win over a room. Do you ever spot any errors that people make that are obvious to you that you wouldn't do with your experience of performance?
Yeah, I think something I learned quite early on was that you can have two very different energies. You can try, you don't necessarily have to try and meet an audience's energy. If so I prefer a rowdy crowd any day over a silent,
Yeah,
arm crossed, apathetic crowd. And people that often surprises people. And it's because I like the chaos.
yeah,
I genuinely do. I think it's the feeling of watching live comedy should have an element of chaos to it, of like we saw this tonight and we'll never see this anywhere else.
yeah, right.
It's got
Yeah,
to have that.
yeah,
And to just go through the motions is incredibly dull for me. I like there to be a frisson.
yeah,
Um, and so like as Marcel, this is something that I probably learned as me before I was doing Marcel, but I don't have in my repertoire to as Marcel to go any more energetic. It's
no,
kind of I retain, but I can't get them to love me. I can't get them to. I can't be amiable. I can't be energetic. I can't. So it is what it is. But I think in the early days, if it was a rowdy crowd, I would possibly, as me, go in with that kind of energy. And sometimes that works, but often it's your role to adjust the energy in the room and to give them something else. As long as it's interesting, I think it will pull focus.
yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, I would say so. Way back when you created the character, what came first? Was it the voice, the attitude, the point of view on the world? How did you kind of put it together?
It was everything. It arrived very fully formed. I've not changed a lot in Marcel in the nearly 20 years that I've been doing him. And because it started, I think the first time I did Marcel was must have been about 2008, I would say, at a little club that I was running in London Bridge with my mate Si Thomas. And it was the
Yeah,
experimental nights that we put on there, and it was no straight stand up was the whole rule of it. It had to be something weird and alternative and different. And I had an old suit from my sixth form days, I think, an old blue suit, and
excellent.
I bought a roll neck suit from Next. Sorry, roll neck jumper from Next, and then I kind of just I have a little bit of French in me. I suppose I drew on a few subconscious memories of my grandfather in South London putting on the French accent, but also from just French people that I'd met. And I suppose like a love of and fascination for Jean-Paul Sartre and
Mm.
Serge Gainsbourg. Those are the two sort of touchstones for
Yep.
Marcel.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
sort of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the world weariness of Sartre and the womanizing uber Frenchness of Gainsbourg. And uh, I, yeah, so I just put all those elements together, the sort of the philosopher, the um, cynic, and just the arsehole.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
They all
yeah,
went
yeah.
together. And it's, as soon as you've got that in your head, the eyebrow gets raised, the posture straightens, and you kind of, and I mean, look, what's changed is I used to try and get through a whole wheel of camembert or a whole baguette. Like it was only ever a compare at first, so I would sort of keep coming on, and it was the funny thing of the baguette just getting shorter and shorter as I was munching on it, introducing each act,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or the wheel of cheese or whatever it was, and that just it was ridiculous because you can't be sophisticated and superior when you've got a mouthful of thick bread.
No.
It's quite hard to do. It's just quite
And
slovenly.
all of that cheese probably isn't very healthy for you either.
Oh man, no, I'm very glad I've knocked that on the head. But yeah, no, so it all came together at once, I'd say. And someone noticed a few gigs in when I took Marcel out of that club. I think someone noticed that I was doing something with my foot that I didn't even realize I was doing, and maybe I've been doing that the whole time. I don't know, just kind of like one foot that I'm kind of leaning on slightly is up like a ballerina's kind of foot, like a
Yes,
dancer's
yes.
poise. And Christ knows why I adopted that. It just felt like the right thing to do. I think just standing there with two legs straight just felt a bit near. It's like he has to have some sort of posturing stance.
And was he always barefoot?
The barefoot thing was a happy accident. In fact, the whole thing was a happy accident, really, of me just fucking around and finding out. But the barefoot thing was when I first went and did shows out in Australia in 2009, I think, only like a year after starting myself. I used to have these shoes. I still have them somewhere, but there's fake snakeskin shoes that kind of look like
Yeah, right.
a wandering flaneur and poet might wear, and they were very Marcel. They were very fitting the character. But I'd left them in the hotel in
Uh, oh, bugger.
or let's be honest, hostel. It would have been a hostel, but I
It-
left them in my suitcase anyway, and went with the suit in a bag, wearing uh, shorts, t-shirt, sandals. I just went there and was just like, oh fuck! I got to the venue. I can't do it in sandals. And somebody said to me, I think the venue owner just said, "Oh, you're gonna have to do it barefoot then." I was like, "Go on then, yeah, let's see how that looks."
Brilliant.
And it just stuck from there.
Brilliant.
It's like, oh, this is the look, and it really bothers some people. I love that, but I never mention it unless it's brought up. And some people are just, I know, staring at them the whole time, going, "Why is he?" And you look at it, you see it on the internet comments as well on social media. Like, so many people, "Why is he fucking barefoot? Why is he barefoot?" And it's really funny because a lot of people just reply to that. I never reply. I just let people reply quite often. They go, "Oh, because he's French, or because he can."
Yeah, right.
Are those two
Yeah,
of most valid answers?
yeah, yeah, yeah. One more about putting the character together, if I may. How do you make a character authentic and not just like a series of catchphrases? Not that Marcel does have catchphrases, but you understand what I mean. Like, how do you
Yeah,
make
yeah.
it so believable?
Well, you have to. A, a lot of character stuff comes from the theatre world. So what you see often with character acts is people getting up and clearly doing a script, and it's a monologue more than a stand-up routine. And I dabbled in theatre. I never studied theatre, but I did various workshops, and I dipped a toe a lot at university, but never. I studied philosophy and psychology, but spent most of my time rehearsing for various ridiculous things and doing, yeah, all manner of sort of performative stuff. And so you've got what I kind of went, well, I went from doing that course I was a sabbatical officer for a year, just learned a lot about communications and marketing and stuff like that. So that's kind of
Mm.
definitely fed into my life now. But after that, oh no, in fact, during that, while I was at uni, sorry, I went to Edinburgh for the first time in 90, well, first time was 98 with a very bizarre production, but 99 was my first, comedic foray with a sketch group that we formed at university. So I sort of went. So I had that little bit of training in theatre, then did sketch comedy for quite a while, and then got into stand up, and they all sort of led into each other. And every single one of those has fed into what I do on stage now. Pardon me. And I think it's great to have all those disciplines. You have to have, because look, most stand-ups when they start out, it's a monologue, but
Yeah,
you know that soon enough it needs not to be. You need to get off that, and it needs to be your in between the realm of monologue and conversational, and having a conversation with someone, and in somewhere in the middle lies the heart of stand up. And
yeah,
so you have to be, you don't have to like really believe that you are that character. You just have to enjoy the role. This is something that I went to clown school as well in 2015 at École Gaulier. Monsieur Gaulier, who sadly passed away this year, but very influential man. There's a lot you can say about that man, but he's definitely influential. And I did it, obviously years after I'd sort of done Marcel, but I learned lots of little things. I learned lots about stagecraft from that, and it definitely helped me uh, become a better performer. And one of the things that stuck with me, one of his little one-liners, if you will, was that he went, when we see an actor on the stage, we don't want to see a man who believes he is Hamlet. We want to see a man who enjoys the game of being Hamlet. And
right.
it's a really lovely distinction, and it's perfect, and you're playing around with being this thing. You're not being an actor on the stage. You're not, but well, you are, but you're not anyway. You're not sort of. It's not as deep as that, and it's not as it's you're fucking around. You're having fun. You're playing.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I like what you said about getting off of being a monologue. Would that be to establish more of a connection with an audience, do you think?
Definitely. Yeah. Because a monologue doesn't even take the audience into account.
Yeah,
You've got to be receptive to everything really, and you read the room in every sense of the word. You've got to be constantly listening for what the audience wants. You've got to remember the space you're in. You've got to remember the town you're in. You've got to remember, like, everything contributes to that performance, and you're not there to deliver a script. You're there to, like, I was going to say give everyone a good time. That's not the Marcel raison d'etre at all. But it is. But it is.
well,
Everyone's there to feel relief about this weird world that we're in.
absolutely. It might not be Marcel's raison d'etre, but I think it could be your raison d'etre, kind
Well, of
of
course it is.
pulling the strings of
Yeah. Like,
Marcel.
like, because it's such a laconic, laid back character, I think people might assume that I can almost do it with my eyes closed, and not at all. If I'm tired, it's way harder to do Marcel, obviously, but underneath, I have to have this constant spinning wheel and this fizzing energy underneath it for me to present Marcel as he should be.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, I don't do character acts, but I've noticed over the years of doing comedy, even things like doing 30 seconds of ad lib about a topic that you know that you've got a bit that you're going to go into.
Mm.
Say you want to talk about, I don't know, chat GPT for the sake of
Hmm.
argument. Instead of just saying, what I notice about chat GPT is bop, 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 bop. You might instead say, it's my pleasure to be here. I've been on Chat GPT too much recently. Give us a cheer if you use Chat GPT. You do. What's your name? What do you use it for? And then to go into the bit after that, you've already Sarah will already know this, but for the rest of you, immediately everyone's a bit kind of
Totally.
eh,
It-
everyone's a bit kind of jealous of what you and Sarah have suddenly got going on,
yeah.
and they want to kind of get in almost.
Yeah, and it raises the workings as well. The whole idea is to not show your workings and kind of
Yes,
it's yeah, that fluid way into it. That's yeah, that's a classic sort of way into that, especially if you're not sure about something. Yeah, it's like, oh my God, and then there it blurs the lines as to of what's being improvised. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
you still get an extraordinary number of people, I think, who believe that everything a comic's doing on stage is just being riffed,
Yes,
which
yes.
I find insane. That
I
gives us so much more of a a heightened. I don't. Yeah, I find that hilarious
absolutely that people could just pick any subject out of the whole world
and
and
not
just be
falter
like,
and have a yeah.
yeah, I'm
I
just going to
know.
tell you three or four things about that. But
Yeah, isn't that hilarious?
I don't really think anything's rift. You know, people talk about like being a natural speaker. I always look at that a little bit kind of a sideways look almost, because there's a part of me that thinks, yeah, well, they're natural because they practice it, because they keep doing it and doing it.
Yeah, yeah,
And the more you do it, the more natural it seems.
yeah. I mean, I think
But
there are a handful of comics that actually just have it. That is just the way they are is just absolutely attuned to comedy. Like, I saw Daniel Kitson in the early days, and it was pretty faultless back then. He was just being him on
yeah,
stage and just
yeah,
plucking.
yeah, yeah. Just with the stutter and
Yeah,
everything.
Ross Noble, I think to some extent as well. Just like there's just, I mean, yeah, there's a few comics who I think
Yeah,
you just go, oh, that's just there. You're pulling something out of the ether, just as
we
soon as you
um
step on stage.
we had Russell Hicks as a guest on here
Hmm.
a few weeks ago, and some of the stuff that he does was just like I felt like I was on a roller coaster talking to him about
Yeah,
his processes. Just like, oh my God, oh no, no, I can't even, I can't even think that. Like
I'll bet. Yeah.
asking him questions, like so if you're just riffing on stuff in the room, how quick do you like getting in the room? Do you sit at the back and
Mm.
watch the show? Do you kind of look around for stuff? And he says, "Oh no, I personally prefer it when I just walk on the stage." And it's like, oh my God, it's like that is just so much incredibly harder than you need to make it. But it's just
Yeah.
how he's conditioned himself over
Yeah.
years and years and years. He said he used to do open mic spots and he used to say to himself, no jokes, no jokes. Don't tell a single
Oh
pre-written
yeah.
joke when you're on here. And I suppose it's like anything. If you do it long enough, your brain kind of molds around doing it and you just start getting better and quicker at doing it,
Yeah.
don't you?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of it is about learning the machinations of it. A lot of it is confidence as well.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we've all seen a load of not a load of comics. We've all seen a few comics, I think, that can go on stage with absolute bravado and sell people a lump of shit.
Yes. Yes. Yeah,
Russell is
yeah.
not one of them, by the
No, 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 no,
way. Absolutely not.
no.
Absolutely
but
not.
but yeah, but then you get the difference in, I suppose you call it stagecraft, the difference between if everything they said was kind of transcribed and written down and you
Yeah.
showed it to someone and said, oh, what do you think of that? And you kind of be like, oh yeah, I kind of see where you're going with it. It's not jumping off
Hmm.
the page. And then you watch it live and there are people like doubled over holding
Hmm.
their ribs because it's like how the difference between what's written down and how it's
Yeah.
presented, that's the kind of gold, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it is, and it's a shame because there was some brilliant writers I remember from my days on the open mic scene. There were some terrific acts who could just write as gags, just brilliant, beautiful gags. But either more often than not didn't have the stamina to keep going with the
Yeah.
open mic scene and to get the lift off that they needed. But also, I think hadn't couldn't quite find their voice to sell those jokes.
Yes, 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 yes. That's it. Finding your voice for people listening to this who aren't in the comedy world is what I think in business is referred to as like personal branding. It's about working out what you bring to the party, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah, it is.
and I think amateurs don't realize the work that goes into that. Like, I think you could say to a comedy fan, picture your favorite comedian. I bet you would know if you went and saw them live, you would know what they'd be wearing roughly. You would
Yeah.
know what types of jokes they would be telling. You would
Hmm.
know how they would be referring to the audience. Would they do any crowd work or do they just riff off jokes? And people think that that's just kind of chance, but it's not. It's a lot of
Cool.
work behind the scenes, isn't it?
Yeah, very much. And it's interesting when you see when there's this quite zeitgeisty comedian, you will then see. I mean, yeah, I don't see as many sort of open mic comics as I used to, but you'll see a ton of people suddenly speaking with the cadence of James Acaster
Yeah.
or Stuart Lee back in the day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and you can see the influence just absolutely, lighting them up on the stage. But they haven't got the material to back it up, but they've got, yeah,
Yeah,
the rip off of the.
that's it. And I suppose it's when you've got a character that you do, then it's almost easier in a way, not easier, that's the wrong word, but it's a more obviously part of the role to sort of find your voice because
Mm,
it's within a character. But I think it's something that all communicators should kind of give more thought to than I think quite a lot of them do.
yeah, yeah. It's I mean, I think you get to a point in comedy when you found that comedy voice. In my case, completely different person. But that can be a voice. That is a voice. That's another voice. But when you find
Absolutely.
your way of selling it, then to some extent the presentation almost becomes more important than the words sometimes. I think
Yeah, I
because the
think
words
so.
will come, the words will fit into your delivery. I went back to some old notebooks of mine when I first started doing Marcel, when the transition happened of me sort of
Yeah, right.
suddenly doing half the gigs as me and then half as Marcel, and when I was phasing me out a little bit and then completely doing Marcel gigs. And I went back to a few old notebooks, and there were some gags of mine that just were a bit too cynical for me, or a bit too, I don't know, whatever they were, a bit too harsh. And I suddenly popped them in Marcel's voice, changed the wording slightly, obviously, to fit his delivery, and absolutely flew. And I was getting nothing off them before I dropped them. And then it was really interesting that Marcel was always there waiting for me, waiting for those jokes.
How interesting. How
Yeah.
interesting. So, was your stage persona like an exaggerated version of the person that I'm talking to now? Like a kind of nice guy talking about stuff?
Oh, like my old stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, it was quite silly. No, it was one-liners, um, silly stories. Very, yeah, I suppose, yeah, I was quite affable and energetic and kind of, and yeah, it was the absolute opposite of Marcel, which I suppose is why I was getting a bit bored of me, to be honest. I was kind of, I wasn't great. I could, again, I'd gained confidence, and I could hold my own on a stage, but material was, needed a lot of work, and I was bored of me, to be honest. I suppose I wanted to go back to my acting roots a little bit
Yeah.
and go back and do something a bit more theatrical on stage and a bit more playful and a bit more fun for me.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure.
and I
Sure.
and we developed this lovely audience at that club, me and Sai, and who I knew that I could try stuff out on. So that when they were receptive to it, just started writing more material. It was mostly sort of improvised at first, but then I'd start writing more and more material, and then started taking him out of our club and into the big wide world. And then he was only Marcel back then. Then he got a surname, and then I took him out, and Yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah, brilliant,
Here
man.
I am.
Yeah,
Later, decades
exactly.
later.
Do you ever stay in character longer than you plan if
Yeah,
you're on a tour of Marcel or
absolutely not. As soon as he's in the case, as soon as I'm off the stage, and if I'm doing, if it's a tour show and I'm selling merch, or if it's one of those venues where I have to kind of walk through the crowd to get out of the building, I will absolutely stay in character. Just because, like I said, I don't want to see that dejected face on people. I don't, the people they even if they're not sure that I'm a real person, they still want to believe. They don't want to see, like you say, the
yeah,
Donald Duck head ripped off.
you must have thought about this. Like Marcel says unacceptable things, but audiences love him.
Yeah.
Why do you think he's got that permission from them to do it?
Well, I would like to thank the entire nation of France and its history. That's it. That's kind of the bottom line, really. It's the French persona. It's the stereotype of the French. It's the no nonsense talking, aloof, bitch about you behind your back, maybe kind of thing. It's just
Yeah,
all it's that. It's the beliefs about the quite true beliefs. I mean, the thing about French people, I always find they can be quite standoffish and aloof, but they're testing you out every time. And then, if you get to know them, actually, they're wonderfully warm and inviting and
yeah,
cordial. And but you have to pass that initial test and get past that barrier. And of course, Marcel is only ever on stage at a club for maximum 30, 40 minutes. So it's
yeah,
like he's just sussing you out the whole time and then leaves kind of thing. And nobody is quite good enough to it's
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
it's slightly different in the tour shows, and it's definitely slightly different in the show that I'm touring at the moment, which is Marcel Lucon's Wine List. Which I'm going to plug my podcast there as well. That's recorded now for a regular podcast, and it's that's
Brilliant.
where I delve into people's past moans and gripes and misdemeanors, and so I'm able to still have the sort of withering put downs as to people's life decisions, but every now and again there might be something that conjoins with Marcel's worldview, and I will actually go, bravo.
Right,
There
right,
was a
right,
man that
right,
was
right.
just caught. There was a man caught having sex on a cliff path in Brighton by a family, and just he's telling me about how the dad made eye contact. I was like, that's
While
I was
he
like, that's
carried
that's the
on.
best member of the family to make eye contact with, and just yeah, and it was just a lot of fun. And then it sort of divulged that basically he wasn't the woman he was there with that night was not this woman in question. And his wife he was with that night did not know about this story, and it was just
Brilliant.
But I was able to then go, oh, bien joué, bravo, monsieur, bravo. So
Yeah,
there are moments of levity where because they're quite often 2 hour long shows with a break, but like, so on 90 minutes on stage, and like to be a knob to the entire audience for that time is that's just a long time to maintain that. So I think that it's nice to have these little moments of concession where I'm sort of going, okay, we meet eye to eye.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
like a man being watched by a family,
Yeah, yeah, right.
working on a cliff.
Tell me, Alexis, you've spent a long time performing a character with limitless confidence. What has it taught you about real confidence?
Well, I think I think the character thing is slightly by the by, actually. I think stand up in general has taught me a lot about confidence, because I suppose I probably wasn't a particularly confident kid. In fact, no, I definitely wasn't. And I wasn't even the joker. I wasn't even someone who sort of made friends at school through it was through either I made friends through, I suppose, uh comedy in general, but not my comedy. It was people that would watch Reeves and Mortimer, and people that would
Yeah,
watch
right.
weird like Chris Morris, and sort of into and was into the sort of stranger sort of side of comedy. And I I mean, look, yeah, I've inevitably got become more confident as a person off stage. I'm still like more of an introvert, I think, than people might think. Um, I'm not, yeah, I'm not that. I'm not. I don't think you would say I was that outgoing off stage, but it's definitely, yeah, it's confidence. You can fake it till you make it to some extent with confidence, I think.
Hmm. Yep.
I think people are more comfortable around confident people, and it goes and it's circular, isn't it? And then you in turn feel more confident, more comfortable in yourself, and it's yeah. So I suppose you have to put on that mask of confidence to get up on the stage and do stand up, and then that's a mask that you can carry in your back pocket once you're off as well.
Yeah, I would say. How much of performing do you think is preparation versus reacting to what's happening in the moment?
Oh, it depends. It's different for every gig, I would say.
For different, so say for that tour show that you were
Mhm.
talking about, 2 hours, for that. So that would be people what telling stories to you in that
Pe-
time.
Yeah, the way it works is people fill in before the show, they've filled in some forms on a QR code, and then I'm backstage sifting through all of the responses, and then the best ones get put up on a screen. So I've had a few seconds to sort of look at them, the responses, and try and form something in my head. Okay, here's probably a gag for this. Here's where I think this is going to go. Here's something that links this one to another one. Um, and yeah, it's just it's mental plate spinning on that one. And so, what was the question?
The question was preparation versus
Preparation.
reaction.
Uh, so that's a bit of both. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very bullet pointy prep, and then it's pure reaction. And actually, the best stories are the ones that just go into directions that you have no idea they're going to go. There's usually something that has been omitted from a small form that someone's filled in at the start of a show, and they can just go off in wonderful directions.
Right.
Uh,
Someone will say something like, actually, I was having an affair when this happened, and it wasn't my wife that I was with. And everyone goes, oh my
but
God.
yeah, there've been a few moments where it's I can tell that there's a tension in the room, and sometimes I'll pursue it, and sometimes I'll just get the vibe of not doing it. But there was one where it was I remember this one vividly. There was someone had just written down. It was like what's the categories are your worst day at work, your worst overseas experience, and your worst amorous encounter. So it's comparing basically. It's cheating, but it's I mean it's not it's a step away from what do you do? Where did you meet? But it's it's yeah, getting slightly more salacious stories hopefully. And anyway, there was one woman wrote my own wedding, and people often put down jokey answers, and I now have to put on the form like don't put a joke answer. The truth is a lot funnier usually, so don't try and be funny.
Yeah, that
Which
sounds like emceeing too.
yeah, yeah, totally. And
Yeah.
yeah, so she put my own wedding, and you often get blokes going, worst amorous encounter, oh, my wife, when I'm, and it might be true, but the fact that a woman put it, I was like, oh, there might be something in this, my own wedding. Let's see. I don't think this is a jokey answer, and it wasn't, and it turned into an incredible story about how she thought she saw a ghost of her future self at the back of the church waving at her and telling her not to do it. And there were omens,
Fuck.
she like the bad, like weird omens that she saw all day. And it turned into this incredible, fantastical story, or just off three words. So, you have to go with it and you go, right, I'm so fucking glad. I mean, look, I have endless thoughts of like, oh God, well, but what about the ones I didn't pick that night? Where would they have gone? But you can't think like that.
No,
No.
no, no.
You never know where it would have gone. There's so many that are just tossed by the wayside that might have been absolute gold, and you've got someone there going, "Oh, I didn't get to tell my story about nearly being eaten by an anaconda," or whatever. It's that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
But,
that's
well, yeah,
the
because you just
game.
wrote bad jungle trip. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Got it, got it. You've got to sell it a little bit
Yes,
more if you want to be part of the show, I
totally,
suppose. Do you
totally.
ever do you ever think about when you're on an ad lib when to stay in the hole you're digging and when to move on to the next one? Like when do you when do you know when to kind of pull the ripcord and get on to the next one, if you see what I
Well,
mean?
it's quite a dilemma. Now that I've started doing the Wine List was a show that I did 10 years ago and I've resurrected to turn into a podcast, basically. I mean, it's still a great live show, I think, but it's edited down into a podcast. So I'm in a slight dilemma now because they paid money, they haven't come to a radio recording. I only have a certain leeway when it comes to waffling on a bit in case it leads to something for the edit.
Yes.
And I have to, and I can't treat the audience like I say, an audience that's come to a free radio recording. So
Yes. Yes.
I mean, look, my comedic brain will always try and kick in and go, come on, you can get something more out of this. Come on, especially if something hasn't quite given what you want it to or hasn't quite matched up to some of the other stories.
Mm,
Then I'm always chasing the punchline or chasing it out. And sometimes there isn't. And actually, probably half of the time there isn't. We've milked it. We've got the most fun part of it has been at the start or in the middle. And it's like, okay, well, it's petered out a bit, but hey, here's the next one. It's fine. So it's all, it's all next, next, next. It's fine. And I end each section with a poem as well. So I have that little island to sail to um
got it.
uh, in the show anyway.
So the podcast is recordings of live shows.
Yes. Yeah. So it's edited down to about half an hour, 40 minutes from that live show.
Oh, brilliant. Uh,
Yeah.
Hey, Alexis,
It's
it's
fun.
slightly bad form to come on a podcast and plug what sounds like a better one, if you don't mind my saying, mate.
Hey, it's all relative. It's all relative.
It is, it is all relative, and we
That's a very
always,
Marcel thing to do, wasn't it? Just
we
he'd kill me if I didn't.
yeah, yeah, right. We always at the end of these find out where listeners can get more of the guests anyway. So that was only a little joke there. Tell me about nerves. You've done hundreds, probably thousands of shows as Marcel now.
Yeah.
Would you say that you still get nervous before
Very,
shows?
very, very, very rarely. I will get nervous if I'm doing well, like the one from the Dream last night, like where it's a showcasey type thing where there's people in the audience that, can
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I'll get a little bit nervous about, but I don't really do those that often, to be honest. I used to get very nervous back when I was doing competitions, like I hated doing competitions, as I think most comics do.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Weird thing for a comedian to do, but yeah, I'd do them anyway, and I'd get really nervous before then, which almost definitely affected my performance. And that's about it, really. I get excited, I get nervous excitement,
Yeah,
but but but
absolutely.
but never, no, never nervous. I tend to nowadays. I tend to know what I'm going to do for the first minute, and that's probably about it. Then I won't have planned any of the rest of the gig. I'll have an in.
Right.
I might have something to say about the room, to say about something that another comic has touched upon if I've seen the rest of the show, or something topical. Or actually, every now and again, I'll just open with some new stuff just to test it out. I'll quite often open.
Yeah.
I know it's probably not the done thing, but it's because it's exciting to me. So it's new for me to say. So I start the show with a bit of like energy behind it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, definitely.
But
No, oh,
otherwise, yeah, I go on and I drift. Now that I've, like you say, I've done, Christ, is it 10,000 hours that you meant to have done? Is that the
yes, it is. That's the Malcolm Gladwell thing,
Malcolm
isn't
Gladwell's?
it?
Yeah, so I've easily done that, and so I've I have my little filing cabinet in my brain to pluck out various bits just to try and read the room, see what they want.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's you make it look effortless how you do it, which
Well,
is a
bear
big
in,
part
thank
of the
you,
skill.
but bear in mind, I talk a lot slower than most comics.
Yeah,
The
right.
delivery helps. The delivery definitely helps.
You mentioned about a sort of showcase type gig, like, people in and stuff like that. Do you think now, with how things like podcasts are taking off, that people can make very good livings from without any constraints at all? Do you think that that landscape's changing a little bit now as to what it would have been like maybe when you started 20 years ago? And, the big thing then was like, I don't know, get someone in from Channel 4 to give you your own show or something like that. Whereas now, I tend to feel like there are quite a lot of people in the sort of, YouTube podcast space who, if you said to them, oh, great news, Channel 4 have been on, you don't need to do this anymore. You just need to, do everything that people on TV have to do. Quite a lot of those new producers of content would say, actually, tell Channel 4 to shove it up their arse, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's yeah, the landscape's changed so much. Like when I first started, God, was it pre-YouTube? I'm pre-YouTube. I'm well old.
Wow.
I know. So you would have to just be very good at selling yourself on an email, pretty much. Or did we have, Christ, maybe it was, what was first, MySpace or YouTube? I can't even remember.
I think it was
Uh,
MySpace.
Yeah, I think it was. I think you sort of yeah, because you'd be able to put a clip up on MySpace, but you didn't want to burn your material. You couldn't do like what you can now on YouTube of like an unlisted clip, like a private clip that you could just send to a promoter.
Yeah,
So there was nothing. So everything you put online was online for all to see. So I think you just basically had to, yeah, just kind of sell yourself, really. I mean, there were fewer comics back then, definitely.
yeah.
And it was a time when in Time Out magazine, not only would Time Out list every single gig in London,
I remember that. Yeah.
yeah, there would be things underneath listings which would say interested acts, call this number, and you'd call it, and it'd often be a landline
Yeah,
or a
right.
mobile, but you'd call it up, and maybe within the month you probably have got yourself a gig.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And
It
then
has
different promoters would talk, and then they'd recommend you to other people, and it was a lot more sort of face to face.
absolutely. But not that I'm saying, all old TV was bad because our comedy heroes were on it then. I just mean now, like, I'm not totally sure there is like a kind of Mr. or Mrs. Big with a big cigar that would kind of come in and watch the show and be like, we're going to make this kid a star. It's now more of a kind of an organic thing where you find your audience and kind of take it from there.
Yeah, it's basically sort of Wayne's World now, isn't it? Really, everyone's got their own cable access channel,
Yeah, right.
doing their own
Yeah.
thing. But your big A&R man isn't watching it. Well, they
No,
probably are watching it, but
but
I think it's such a bizarre. I mean, look, I don't think. I mean, I don't think I really exist to the comedy industry now. Like whatever the comedy industry is. I mean, you've got that. Everyone talks about this, but you've got the massive distinction between the circuit of just the gigging comics and jobbing comics and touring comics, and then you've got the comedy industry, the TV and radio. And I don't, Christ, I mean, the last time I did telly was 11 years ago.
right.
And every time it's because a comedian has pushed for me to be on their show. John Bishop, Russell Howard, Dan Atkinson doing Live at the Electric.
Right.
Always been other comics that have given me a leg up, which is lovely.
Yeah.
And other than that, I don't think I even exist in the minds of TV and radio execs.
No. And
I think there's a lot of people like that, and we all just get on and we do our own thing. And I've, built up a nice following of people, either online or just from tour shows over the years, and just longevity and putting the hours in. And
Absolutely.
I'm quite stoical about it now. I've gone, well, okay. It's like there are certain comedy clubs that I never will play because I'm just not on. Not many now, actually, but there was always a handful of just ones that I just stopped contacting because I just never heard anything back. And it's like, well, fine, okay, I'm not in your collective consciousness. I'm not. That's fine. But that's the whole of the TV. That's the whole of the comedy industry for me.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
there's
yeah,
just
yeah.
so many people. We can name. We could all name 10 names, I think, of people who should be on the telly all the time if there was justice in the comedy world.
That's right.
I
That's
could
right.
name 10 character acts who should, let alone stand-ups.
But now people are kind of just bypassing TV, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like the whole thing with Jeff Innocent
Jeff
a,
Innocent.
a
Yeah.
few years ago. He for people that don't know, in fact, he'd be a brilliant guest on this. I must try and get him on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he apparently, so the story goes, like Jeff's a very kind of old school bloke in his 60s
Hmm.
who actually has some very kind of forward
Yes.
progressive jokes in there,
Yeah.
funnily
He's
enough.
he's one. He's almost a perfect comedy act, I would say.
Yeah, right. He is. Yeah. And so the story goes, he was in his 60s running a comedy workshop for a load of kids. And one of the kids said to him, have you thought of putting any of your stuff online? And
Yeah.
Jeff, he didn't, but he almost said, what's online? But it was that kind of like, well, how would I go about doing it? And this
Right.
kid was some kind of a, he was a very kind of tech savvy, shall we say. So he said, well, I'll set you up an Instagram account. You just give me all of the video that you've got and I'll edit
Right.
it. And Jeff ended up, the normal thing would be like, I don't know, go to Edinburgh, get discovered by some exec, then you get a TV show, then from the TV show, you start touring. But through social media, he just basically completely bypassed the TV part of that process. He
Yeah.
went from gigging to suddenly touring just because he'd found an audience online that he could
Yeah.
then sell the tour show.
Big tour as well.
So yeah, that's right.
Hmm.
So which is can obviously, as long as you don't piss it up the wall too quick, that can set you up. But mate, I'm so pleased that you have well found your audience. You're doing stuff that you love, and you're just packing people in, and most importantly, making them laugh.
Hey, look, well, I still have to sell it on a regular basis. I'm still doing a hell of a lot of work to try and get people in, and yeah, sell myself, put myself out there. I sort of, and you never know what's going to catch as well. Like the poem from 3 years ago, Wine in a Can, which sort of a lot of people seem to know me for now, gave me like a little bit of a second push, I suppose, on online on social media, and I get like it's become. I don't have a catchphrase, but that is almost. That is almost it. The
Yeah,
wine in the
right.
can is my motif. Like people
Yeah.
come and leave. I'll come out and like on stage, and occasionally people will have left like a couple of little offerings of wine in the can on the front of the stage.
Oh,
And so I've sort of I describe it as my like, losing my religion. Basically, it's like I've been going for so many and then suddenly everyone knows who REM is. It's like right, okay, oh there we
yeah.
go, losing my there it is, yeah, and
Yeah,
then
got it.
and it's odd, yeah. People coming to me who only know me for that now, and but come along off just one little poem that's probably the quickest poem I've ever written, and it was just for it was a festival. My wife runs a festival, also festival. I'm gonna give that a plug as well. Also festival, July 10th to 12th.
You
But
have?
Warwickshire, and they had some wine in a can that year, and I was like, well, and I do a Marcel show every Friday on the Friday night there every year. Cabaret Fantastique, and I thought, well, I've got to write a poem about Marcel's thoughts on wine in a can. This is like
Of
I can't
course.
can't be having this. I just wrote it for that festival and just polished it off and in half a day, and then just tried it out that night, and it absolutely took off.
Brilliant.
And then, that became my sort of closer for a long time. And I still have to
Yeah.
bring it out now. I kind of stopped it for a while because I thought people were bored of it. And then I'll come off and people go, "Oh, you didn't do one in a can." And it's like, oh,
Oh,
this is
got
what being a
you.
musical comedian feels like. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
nice.
yeah,
I've got
yeah.
a, yeah, I've got the hit.
Brilliant stuff. Alexis, in the incredibly unlikely event that someone might have heard you on this podcast, up until now has been unfamiliar with your work, but wants to find out more, what would be the best ways for them to find you?
I'm on all the bullshit. I'm on all the social media, TikTok. I'm on and off with TikTok, but Instagram. I don't know why I mentioned that one first. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. MarcelLeConte.com is where you will find the gig list. And if you want to buy things, a Bandcamp as well. That's my merch. That's where you can buy poems and albums and wine. This house has a ban on wine in a can, fridge magnets. And some
Brilliant.
bookmarks. Yeah, yeah, a lot.
All of those things. And last one, I know it's fathoms beneath you now, but if you would ever find the time to do another Smirk Experience show, I'm running one in my local village now,
Lovely.
and they would love you there. So if we can ever make that work, that would be awesome. But for now, Alexis, thank you so much for your time and such a brilliant, enlightening chat.
Thank you, mate. I'll see you in your local village.
There he goes, the wonderful Alexis Dubus. Alexis is such a top bloke. Him and Marcel are honestly like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So different. Here are 3 takeaways from that chat. Firstly, confidence is a costume before it's a habit. You don't need to feel confident in order to look it. That often comes later. Great speakers talk with and not at their rooms. Whatever size the crowd, audiences have to feel part of what you're saying. And lastly, authority comes from clarity, not volume. The best speakers establish who they are and what they're about early on, and then audiences happily follow. Thanks for listening to Before, During, After, a Smirk Experience podcast about performance from the inside. If you've enjoyed it, why not share it with someone else who you think might get it? And give us a follow while you're at it. See you next time.